It's Judd's Hockey Show.
And welcome into an early morning edition of Judd's Hockey Show. It was worth the wait because the Wild wins 5-2 tonight in Game 2 of their first-round playoff series. Appreciate all of you who are joining us, I would guess, very, very late here, near 1 a.m. in the Midwest. Judd, AJ with you. Lot to talk about from this game. But let's start with this one. Let's start with, and we actually did a preview, I guess, podcast today of this game, and talked about the fact that Kirill Kaprizov, who, was very good in Game 1, but he had to score. And he did exactly that. 2 goals, including the one into the empty net, which might not seem like a big deal, but I was very, very concerned by that point. And we could talk about the game flow here, but I had grown concerned by that point, despite the fact that the Wild was up by 2 goals. So he scores a gorgeous goal in which he looked off. I think it was Boldy. It looked like he was going to pass for sure. He did not. He shot. Adin Hill got confused. He scores the empty net goal. He has the assist on the Boldy goal, which was the first goal, Boldy's third of the series, which was a gorgeous sauce pass. Absolutely great. He also had, I'm checking the stat sheet out here, Kirill AJ also had, it looks like, 4 block shots, a +2, a great performance. There's a lot of keys here. And at the end of the day, Filip Gustavsson might have been the most important player just because he got off to a great start. Because the Golden Knights could have had 2 goals early, and then he was fantastic from basically the second portion of the second period on. So a lot to like about the performance and goal there. But Kirill Kaprizov delivered on everything I think that we basically talked about needing to see from him in this game.
Yeah, I mean, going back to our talk from this morning, like, it's exactly what we wanted. He shot the puck. He was more willing. He played a little more selfish, as he should, late in the game to ice it. I mean, sure, you're up 2 goals, but time winding down, a final 10 minutes, and then the final, 350, whatever, with a goalie pulled. I mean, the longest 4-ish minutes of, I think, the Wild's life this season. He plays selfish, and he fires one from the parking lot down the ice into the empty netter to ice the game. I loved his play tonight, and he's a guy that I think it's easy to rally around for his teammates after the non-call that I see a lot of people already commenting here. For those of us joining us on YouTube on this very early morning, they found an extra gear, and I think he led the charge for the style of play of hockey that they needed to have for the game tonight. They played a very good first period. I'm sure we'll get into probably the second half of the game a little bit more here as the night goes on. But I mean, end of the day, Judd, I think the biggest takeaway here, it's a 1-1 series now. Like, now you're coming back home for a team that has been this season historically not that great at home. Who knows in the playoffs, but they played a very good brand of hockey in the first. They, I think, earned the win. And the biggest thing was they took advantage of the mistakes that Vegas made, similar to what Vegas did the other night. Wild made a couple mistakes, but biggest thing, big win. Now 1-1 in the series, heading back into St. Paul.
I love, so the Wild didn't get off to a great start in the first period, and as I mentioned before, Filip Gustavsson was outstanding. Then they got hot, and actually it started with a couple of Adin Hill huge saves, the breakaway on Boldy, and then the Eriksson X save on the puck out front, in which Hill got over in time to make a fantastic pad save. And I thought, oh boy, this could be a long night, because that's the type of goaltending performance where it's like you don't win. But then the Wild did score. Boldy, who's been great, scored again. Kaprizov scored. So I should say Boldy, Foligno, Zuccarello, Kaprizov scored. So it's 4-0 at the 3:59 mark of the second period. And after that, I don't know what happened. Because, first of all, the Golden Knights looked, I don't know if they fell asleep or what, but they didn't look good.
No.
And then it's like, okay, and Kaprizov scored, and so I thought, okay, they're gonna pour it on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the Golden Knights flipped a switch and just began to dominate. And that's where Gus came back, and I thought was magnificent again, played really well. He continues to swallow pucks up in front. I think one of the things that impresses me the most about Gus is I don't know that I've ever seen a goaltender when he's going well who's so unflappable on like pucks right in front.
Yeah.
Like ordinarily pucks get knocked in, right? And
Hmm.
he's just outstanding. But it was a really weird game because by the end of the game, and you're right, the most important thing is that the Wild won. But by the end of the game, I didn't know what was what as far as game flow goes.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious now for Thursday's game because like are the Golden Knights going to come out inspired now? And they're a very good team. And you know what? The Wild when they're at full strength is a good team too. But
Hmm.
like I'm very curious what's the next move here because it's sort of like we got the Golden Knights engaged and then they're like, "Oh, we're going to check out." The Wild's like, "Hell yeah, we're going to take advantage." And then when Kaprizov scored, I really did think, oh, the Wild's going to score 6, 7 goals.
Yeah.
And the Golden Knights came back. I did not like the fact from a Wild perspective. I did not like the fact that it did feel like I don't know if the cliche took their foot off the gas pedal is correct, went into a shell is correct. Like, phrase it as you want to, but I would have liked to have seen that aggressiveness continue. We
Hmm.
didn't. Now, because of the Kaprizov fourth goal, it got close. It didn't get. I don't think it got within a goal at any point in time, which was nice. But just a really, really odd game. Ultimately, though, I think if you're John Hines, overall, you're really pleased with the bounce back. 5-game series now, and you come
Hmm.
back here tied at 1. So a lot to like from the Wild's perspective, and quite frankly, age two. To go back to game 1, I thought they played well there too. Like
Yeah.
it's not like they played poorly, got their asses chewed out, and played well. I think in game 1 they played an extremely competitive game. Here's one impressive thing: through 2 games, Jack Eichel no points, Mark Stone no points.
Hmm.
So a lot to like too about what the Wild has done defensively, taking away time and space against two of the Golden Knights' best players, and I mean Eichel is one of the game's best players. So
Yeah.
that's impressive too.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that kind of clicked while the Wild were reeling late in the game, which was if they hold on to win, which they end up doing, they beat this Golden Knights team playing. I mean, it wasn't a perfect game by any means. If they would have played the first period minus maybe the first 5 minutes, like that 15 minutes heading into the first intermission, all the entire game, that would have been essentially a perfect game. They were taking advantage of miscues. They were driving up the ice. They were playing physical. They were blocking shots. They were shooting the puck. They didn't do that all night long, and they beat the Vegas Golden Knights as a team that I think is very much still on paper outmatched in this series. They prove that it doesn't take a perfect game to win. Like this team is beatable. This Vegas Golden Knights team is not perfect, but the Stone, the Eichel, the slumbering Bears that haven't yet awoken from hibernation,
Yeah.
that is like the who is it going to creep in here? When's it going to hit? You never know, and it could be the next game. In game 3, it could be game 4, but whatever they're doing, and there seems to be a very clear game plan as to how those guys are being attacked, because Mark Stone showed a little frustration in the second period. Jack Eichel had a play with him where they got swallowed up along the wall, and he just kind of like, you know what? Fine, we're going to clear back out to center ice. We're going to try to re-enter the zone, because they couldn't do anything. They couldn't set up the offensive zone like they typically wanted. So the defensive structure from the Wild, as much as you and I harped on them late in the season, big breakdowns in their own zone, they seem to have been shoring it up, and they're focusing on the top end talent. And that's why you're seeing Noah Hannafin, Alex Pietrangelo being the guys that have to score tonight. And granted, maybe a little broken plays and whatnot, but this team is beatable. This team, like this series, is now a 5-game series with Wild having home ice advantage. I mean, I don't know if they're in the driver's seat, but it feels like they have a much higher leg up on the competition than I would have thought 24, 48 hours ago.
I think the most important thing, I think among the most important things, goaltending clearly, because you got to have your guy, and Gus I think pretty much did tonight, stand on his head at times.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing though is I think that you need more contributions, but I will say this: Hartman being moved to the third line tonight,
Mm-hmm.
they played really well. Now they began to, I thought, scuffle a little bit late in the game, but early on, I thought they were excellent. The first line, especially Boldy and Kaprizov, look fantastic. There are a few things of concern. Let's start with this one.
Yeah.
The third defensive pairing, Bogosian and Bouillon did not have a good game. And
No.
this goes back to, though, what I want, which is I think that is an awful pairing. I think that is a terrible pairing.
It is.
I don't think Bogosian's good enough to help Zeev out. That's why, again, I will say this, and I know that John Hines wants to keep his top four together, but I would put Middleton with Bogosian. I would put Bouillon, who's a left-handed shot, with Spurgeon, and I would also smooth out the playing time a little bit. Like that's the thing too, is I want to get Faber's minutes down. I don't want to. He doesn't have to play as much. And I think if you went with those pairings, because Middleton could actually lift up Bogosian. Like they're treating Bogosian like he can help Zeev. Because, he's a veteran. He's not good enough to help Zeev. He's got his own problems. And so I feel like Zeev is being thrown to the Wolves defensively, especially. And we have established as well, Age, that, like, if your whole thing is, well, he is here for the power play, they're not going to give you, you're going to get one or two per game. And there were definitely some missed calls tonight. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
And we could talk about that. I've seen comments. But the reality is this. I would rather have the defensive pairing shuffled, because I'm telling you, Zeev Bouillon would look like a different player 5-on-5 with Spurgeon. And I'm on no crusade to get Johnny Merrill back in, okay?
No.
Like, the kid should play. This is a great opportunity. You're not, again, you ain't winning a cup. So let's get past that. But I think if you put Spurgeon and Bouillon, I think Zeev's 5-on-5 raises.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also asking, I'm sorry, but you're asking Bogosian, and you've made this point before, just period. You're asking Bogosian to play a role he has no business playing, which is the veteran guy with the kid. It's not ideal. It's not a good idea. And the worst part then is you get scared to play those two 5-on-5. And so now you're playing your top four even more and more and more. And I'm going to tell you right now, bad idea.
Yeah, and I think Bouillon looked much better tonight. Granted, there was still a turnover or two that I think caught my eye.
The Hannafin goal, he tried to make a play, and
yeah,
it wasn't all his fault, but yes.
But I think overall, in the grand scheme of things, even with the lackluster power play that has still yet to record a shot through two chances, I thought he looked much more improved. You could tell that there was some nerves from the other night, first NHL game coming in the playoffs. Like, who wouldn't have that? But he looked a little more settled in. So after all that being said, like Jeff Meyer says here, is Zeev should sit on Saturday. I fully disagree. You can't go back here. I think at this point, he's looked 10 times better after one game. Who knows what's going to happen here on Saturday? Middleton, we already talked about this. Put him down. It's not a demotion as much as it is. It's the playoffs. Guys have to take new roles sometimes. That's just how it has to be. That's going to be better for the team. And yeah, the stabilizing nature of a Spurgeon who showed off just kind of what he has with the hand-eye. He batted one out of midair that was going to fly on Gus, who was screened at the time.
He's really technically sound.
He is, and that's gonna stabilize Bouillon so much better. Do you want to go? We've got a couple people waiting to share a couple takes here. Our guy Pete A. We'll welcome him on first. He's been waiting the longest here. Pete, you're on JHS Event Line.
Hey, Pete.
Oh, hey, Pete, you're muted. I'm gonna put you back. Oh, there we go. You good?
You guys have me?
There we go.
Hey, Pete.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Of course.
So what do you got for us?
So I have two main points here. The first one is you guys touched on this right before, but the referees in this series. There have been a few where I've been kind of screaming at my TV, like, what are you guys seeing? I don't know if I'm seeing the same game that they're seeing, especially with the cross-check to the mouth of Hartman in game one. But that's the first point. And then the second point is I wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on Rossi on that fourth line to start the game. I have no idea what Hines is thinking on that. But
I said this before. I'm not being a smartass. If you're going to put him on the fourth line, stick him in the press box.
agreed.
It's useless. Like that. Like my whole point about him playing where Goudreau is now is not to like reward him, but if you're going to use him, you've got to give. And he plays on the second power play, right? So it's not like he's not playing on a power. But if you're going to put him on a grinding line with Trennan and with Brazeau, I'd prefer Shore plays because like Shore has a better idea of how to do that job. So I think I think for game 3, if you are going to leave Rossi there, I would scratch him. They won't, I don't think, but I would. Well, he's a wing though.
Agreed,
so,
but
yeah,
if you're going to put anybody on there, like, because that whole fourth line, you could put anybody out there.
Yeah, I just want a center who understands that role. I don't think Marco understands that role. Like he needs to sort of just play with skilled guys or not play. And so if Goudreau's going to play, if Goudreau's going to continue to center that second line, I just don't think Rossi has a role on that fourth line. And I thought tonight wasn't good. Like he didn't do a damn thing. And plus, like, what's he going to do? Set up Trennan and Brazeau?
Yeah.
They've got no hands.
It's just such a different style of hockey those two are playing compared to what he can do. Like they are chugging along, they're dump and chase, throw a body, finish the check, then get off the ice. Rossi's got some skill. Rossi's got some flair to his game, and he's just not able to do anything with that. You're putting him in a cage by you're putting baby in a corner essentially by putting him with Brazeau and Trennan because he just can't do anything. You got to get him out there with Patrick Swayze cutting it up on the dance floor.
As far as the calls go, the Hague punch to Kaprizov was very, very cheap, and I would like to see some. I would like to see a very hard hit as retribution on Thursday. The one, and look, they're letting almost everything go, everything, both ways.
Yeah.
But the one that got me was the Eriksson X slew foot. I think you got to call that. It's such a dangerous play. It's such a and it was so. I'm like the Kaprizov punch to the face from Hague. You could argue that the officials genuinely didn't see it, but the Eriksson X slew foot was out there for everyone to see. I don't understand how you don't call that, just because that's the type of play where a guy can be lost for a long time. So I did think I don't complain much because one, if they're not going to call it on both teams, they're not going to. But that's the one where I was like, that is a really, really BS play. And that's the type of play too that you want to penalize to make it very clear where the line is. Like the Nyquist penalty that they called for him was a penalty, but I would prefer the slew foot gets called to say you can't do that, and you don't call the Nyquist one. But I mean, these two games, it is abundantly clear they're not going to call a damn thing, really, right?
Yeah.
So
the line for
exactly.
The line for how egregious these penalties are is still super blurred because you have the one on Nyquist gets called, that one doesn't. I feel like there's going to be something later where it's like Saturday game, or even in game 4 afterwards, game 5 after that, which is like somebody's going to get called for a penalty. It's like, well, that is nowhere near as bad as this. And then there's going to be this whole discourse about what is the actual rulings for this. So And this doesn't factor in at all either, but with his leg injury earlier this season, like it was one of those, I'm sure Wild fans are holding their breath as he goes down. How quick is he to get up? And then same thing with the punch on Kaprizov, like whether it was seen or not, they mentioned it at least on the ESPN broadcast, which is like, he was relatively slow. Like he didn't bounce back up like maybe Matt Boldy did after taking a big hit on that like mini breakaway he got up, back checked or whatever really quick, but there the scrum, Kirill gets to his knees and kind of collects himself. Wild fans probably holding their breath all over the States.
Thanks, Pete.
Well, hey, thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Take care.
Let's go next over here. Derek, maybe
there he is.
Derek, you with us?
Yeah,
we lost Derek here. We'll just move over to John, see if he wants to join back in here. John, you're on JHS Van Line.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, John.
Appreciate you guys. I listened to you earlier today,
Appreciate that.
and
Thank you.
you are absolutely right. There's not going to be any penalties called. A couple of things though. What I'm hoping for is I saw Gustafsson play this game a couple years ago against Dallas, and the next game we played Fleury, and I don't
Game
see
one.
that happening this year.
No.
And just let him run. And I know there's no way the ref didn't see Kaprizov get punched because Kaprizov was in his arms. And so he just chose not to call it. But instead of us doing something dirty, Kaprizov kicks a 100-yard field goal from behind the net and gets even that way,
Absolutely.
So, and then I listened to you talk about Boldy, Judd, and I see what you're saying throughout the season. Like, I don't miss an episode of you guys, especially for hockey.
Thank you.
But the first period, he won every puck battle. He was on fire. He was inspired. And I don't know about you. We're about the same age, Judd. And I like you too, AJ, but we're about the same age. And I
Okay.
think that's about the prettiest hockey play I've seen in my entire life. When
He's phenomenal when he's like this.
Kaprizov brought the rain with that puck.
Yep.
And hit him in stride. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, and then the last thing I'll say. Also, I agree that Vegas really hit another gear, and I understand that. And I don't think it was our lack of effort. It was just they found another gear. What I'm hoping for is they spent a lot of energy capital for a 5-2 loss tonight. And I know you guys talk about attrition in the playoffs and how hard it is, and maybe we wore them down a little bit, and we go home and we get 2, and wow, we're off to the races. I'm pretty excited tonight, and I got to be up at 5:30 tomorrow morning for work, and who cares?
Get some sleep,
YOLO.
John.
That's all I got to say.
Exactly
So,
right. Get some
Well,
sleep.
thanks, John.
appreciate you guys.
Thank you. I will say off of his point, the one thing that I saw tonight that really intrigued me was Aiden Hill.
Yeah.
I mean, he was not good. Like if there's one thing, I don't know that the attrition, because there's now these series are spread out a bit, right? Day off. But the one thing that intrigued me was Aiden Hill's play, because Aiden Hill looked very mortal to bad. And that's something where I don't know. Does he bounce back fine? I honestly thought after the Kaprizov goal that Cassidy might make a goaltending change, because that was, I don't know if I marked this down, but the Wild had 3 shots in the second period. Kaprizov scored on the first one, but he had given up 4 goals, AJ, on 13 shots through 2 periods, and he looked shaken because he made those 2 early saves, the Eriksson X save, the Boldy save. He made those 2. And again, I thought, oh my God, it's going to be a long night. And then he allows 4 goals. And so I guess if there's one thing going into game 3 that I want to see is how does he bounce back? Because really for the remainder of the game after the Kaprizov goal, it was the Golden Knights in the Wild zone testing Gustavsson. So I think there's a real question now about does Hill bounce back? If he doesn't bounce back successfully, you're in pretty good shape. So I think now my question is the Vegas goaltending situation. They obviously want to ride Hill. He did not look good, and has the Wild at least sort of, if nothing else, I think the right word might be, have they flustered him?
Yeah, I mean, he seemed flustered. And this Vegas team, I feel like they were spoiled and didn't really know what they had when they had Logan Thompson. At that point, it was like they were battling back and forth between, do they want Fleury? Do they want Robin Leonard? And then Logan Thompson just sort of like stumbled in there and won them a hell of a lot of games. And then I know he had that injury. I think he actually sustained one of his major injuries at the X.
He did.
Against the Wild.
Yep.
And now you see what he's doing healthy for the Washington Capitals. Just a tremendous season. Aiden Hill, I mean, he probably was like cheaper and probably helped them out cap-wise to build the roster that they have. But that's exactly what you're going to get. He's a big guy, but he's just not the most fundamentally sound. Like with Gustavsson, shot after shot, pressure, relentless. He's swallowing up rebounds like it's nobody's business. Where on the other side, granted, it's not like he invented the play or anything like that. Guys have been doing this for a while, but the no-look shot on goal that led to Kaprizov's first goal of the night, he was startled by it. He was caught off guard by the release. And granted, that's a guy with a really good shot.
Yep.
That just showed exactly the type of discrepancy you have between one end of the ice and the other, where Gustavsson is by far the better goaltender in this series. Hill, when he's on, you saw it in the first 5 minutes, he's capable of making very big game-breaking saves, but he's also going to be Swiss cheese at times where you can beat him as long as you apply pressure and just funnel the puck to the net. And the Wild, I mean, when he looked better, the Wild just weren't getting the puck to the net as often. So that's where they're going to have to find that consistency and pressure later on in the series.
It was intriguing too that all four, or the first four of the goals that the Wild scored, came with Braden McNabb and Shea Theodore on the ice for the Golden Knights. Shea Theodore had a brutal start, which he's a very good player. So like that was also, I was surprised because I went and looked at the score sheet after 2 periods, and it's 327, 327, 320. And so they took advantage of that. There's no question in my mind that the Golden Knights are going to have a lot of guys bounce back now, but the goaltending to me becomes the question mark.
Speaking of some question marks, Derek is back, and the question mark is his internet connection this time. Derek, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
There we go. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. So I got 3 players on my mind. I got some points and questions in regard to those players. I'll start off with Ryan Hartman. This is kind of a point here. I thought he played pretty good so far. I'm looking here right now. I see 3 shots on goals. We got an assist, obviously, with the point. I thought Vegas, they've done all that they've could to rattle him. We've seen hits to the head on him, hits where he's against the boards. Mm-hmm. They've clearly tried to put him in the penalty box, and he's done a good job being disciplined, which is a good thing with Ryan Hartman, obviously.
Yes.
My next point has to be with Nyquist, and I'm a pretty big Billy G fan, but I just gotta say, I want to know what does he have to do to contribute, because he blew a tire, right? Yeah. And we saw that was in the 3rd period.
Yes,
where the announcer said, "Oh, he blew a tire," and I'm thinking to like the Twins with Jose Miranda getting tagged out at second base. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yes,
it was embarrassing.
Yes.
So I'm just not sure what he really does to help this team. And what did we give up for him?
2nd round pick in 2026. 2nd round pick. He should have
Is it worth it?
No, hell no.
It's not worth it.
He was worth. He was probably worth, if he was worth anything, like a 6th or 7th round pick. But to what you're saying, the problem is, so Hartman got put on that line tonight. Foligno is the left wing, and he's really good. I mean, he's been great. He scored a goal, but it is essentially 2/3 of a line. And here's my question: what does Vinny Hinostroza, who, if I'm not mistaken, is a right-handed shot, what does he have to do to get off, to get out of the press box? And if they are not going to call penalties, the Wild tonight, 0, Nyquist has no role, because his only role now is he has been a pretty good stabilizing force on the PK. So the answer to your question is he does nothing. And the answer to your question is he should not be playing unless you want to scratch a wing from the 4th line, which quite frankly I would not do. Gus Nyquist has done nothing, and if you're not going to be killing penalties, or you're going to be killing one, I don't think that what he brings justifies him playing. And I would prefer a faster guy like Hinostroza gets that chance, because I know I'm going to get more from him than I'm getting from Gus.
So how do you make that happen?
Well, unfortunately, because you traded a second round pick and he's a veteran and you like your veterans, you probably don't. But I mean, you know what? If you're going to move Marco Rossi to the fourth line, then nut up and scratch him. I mean, they demoted a guy who I believe, if I'm correct on this, Rossi is third on the team in the regular season in scoring. So I mean, that's a pretty big demotion right there. So I'd scratch him. I would scratch. I don't think he brings a damn thing.
Do you see that happening soon?
No, I don't.
Why?
The problem is that it's the visual. You traded a second round pick, and that's not just like
Okay, but if you're Billy G, though, I mean,
couch.
what does Billy G care about with visual? He wants to win, right?
Yeah.
He does, but they've also shown they have a very strong allegiance to their veterans and guys that they just like. Hence why Zach Bogosian continues to be in the lineup night after night. Like if you go to the store and you buy a lawnmower, right? And then you get home and after like 2 times, that thing is just a heap of junk, but it's still only like a month old. You're still going to try to mow the lawn with it, unfortunately, because you just bought it. It's yours now. You own it. You can't bring it back to the store. You can't say, Nashville Predators, please take it back. We'll take our second round back. Like you unfortunately, you just have to plan. Maybe if you get to a deeper round, then that sort of conversation maybe trickles in. But as of right now, you invested like a heavy pick. You can't just cast that to the wayside and say, now we're bringing in Vinny Hinostroza, who we claimed off waivers, and he's making less than $1 million. And then, it's just one of those things. If you get to a second round matchup, maybe you can have that conversation, but there's no chance he leaves the lineup in round 1. 0.
I'd love to see him scratch, though.
Yes, I would be elated.
I'm with you on this. I'd love to see him scratch.
Okay, now my third point was with it has to do with the refs also. We saw the Kaprizov hit to the face. That was pretty egregious. And then obviously the Eriksson Ek trip. And the Vegas Golden Knights, as we've seen, have been hitting very hard, especially the first game. We looked like some college boys that were getting thrown around like rag dolls. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and then this game too. On this game, we had statistically more hits. However, there were some moments where, especially my mom, she's asleep right now, I think. But if she was watching, she's kind of old school hockey. With that hit to Kaprizov, we bring this back to St. Paul. There's got to be a fight at some point. Am I wrong?
I would think that there might be more hits than fights. Like the playoffs.
We got to get one, though. Come on, Foligno.
Yeah, but you got to be careful there, because that's where if you're the aggressor and they take you and they don't take the guy that you're trying to fight, and like I've seen in playoffs before where a guy challenges a guy, drops his glove, and the secondary guy won't fight. So like you got to be very, very careful. Like
you do have to be careful, but I feel like a guy like Moose, who's got that experience,
he can
light a team up.
Oh, and he can run them. Yep. Like there's nothing to stop 17 from taking 14 of Vegas into the boards very, very hard.
And this is my hot take, just a little bit of a hot take.
All right.
That is the reason why, personally, me, and there's probably a lot of other Wild fans that think this way. Well, maybe not a lot, but just a few. That reason alone, why a guy can fire a whole team up, and I've seen it so many times. My little hot take. Ready for it? Foligno should be the captain.
Oh, that's not a bad take.
No, it's not. I mean, he's got an A. He's literally a letter away. Yeah, he's got the A in his chest. I don't
disagree with that one bit. Yeah, no, he definitely is. He and probably the two most stand-up guys in that room are Foligno and this might sound weird, Zuccarello. Zuccarello talked after every awful performance. I give him credit. He would often volunteer to talk. And Marcus talks all the time. Like as far as the guys that take accountability, the veteran guys, right, who try to set the example, I would say that Mats and Marcus are the top two. So I don't think.
And I have nothing wrong. Like I said, I have nothing wrong with Spurgeon. He's a class act guy. He's been with the team. He's a good leader.
Not what you think of as a captain.
Huh?
I said he's not what you think of as a captain, though.
No, he's not. I don't see him as laying his. I know it sounds cliche, but laying his life out for the team. I've not seen that from him.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
stuff.
Hey,
Thank you.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks for staying up with
Thanks,
us.
Derek. I see a comment there from Dylan Michael that said Eck should have the C. I mean, you certainly could make that case as well. But yeah, I mean, Marcus and Mats are probably your two most stand-up veteran guys. So I don't think that that's a hot take. In fact, I believe when Koivu retired, I said I think Foligno probably deserves it.
Yeah.
And he's been hurt before, but he had a really good year, like a really consistent year. Scored a goal tonight. When he stays healthy, he brings a lot. Just intangibles too. I mean, he's not a great player, but he's a good player, and he brings intangibles. So, I also had one for you off of this age.
For sure.
So, when they come back here on Thursday night for game 3, do you think that we see changes at all? Like, do you think that, and put yourself in Heinz's shoes?
Yeah.
Do you think that he considers a third pairing defensive change? Do you think that they would consider scratching Rossi? I think he's useless there. I just think he's useless. I don't think it's going to work. The Nyquist thing we just discussed in depth. I'm with you. I would scratch him. They won't. But do you think that we see tweaks going into game 3?
Oh, I would, if I'm John Hines, if I'm thinking like in his shoes. Yeah, I mean, I could honestly see it. I think similar to what we just talked about with like the visuals of not benching like a Nyquist. I think there's a weird visual to bench your third highest scorer for the season.
I agree.
But
he's on the fourth line.
But that's the thing. Like, you've already demoted him down there. You may as well just put him in the press box. Like, it's very apparent you're not satisfied with how he's playing the game. And putting him down there is not, I mean, that's not doing you any favors. That's not doing him any favors.
Not built for it. Correct.
No, that's just not the type of hockey he can play. I mean, are you bringing in Devin Shore or who? That's my thing there. And even if you're not, we had some people saying this in the YouTube comments here earlier, which is if you're gonna even consider hypothetically, like who's more valuable to the lineup right now? Is it Rossi? Is it Nyquist? Let's say they just, for whatever reason now, taking away the visual aspect of benching a second round pick that they traded, Nyquist goes out. You could hypothetically move Rossi to a wing. He has played there a little bit, but it's not like he's going to be natural.
That. No, his confidence right now is shot.
Yeah, and
he's playing.
You almost got to cut your losses, right?
I think when I watch Rossi play now, his confidence is gone. Like, it's gone. When I watch Nyquist play, I think he's cooked. Like, the difference is this: Rossi is not confident, which is huge, and you're putting him on the fourth line, which is akin to saying you suck, which is not a confidence builder. Nyquist, they got a guy who's either damaged goods, which I don't think, or just cooked, and I think he's just cooked. And so for those two guys, but the difference in my opinion, because I'm not mad at Gus, I just think he's useless. But the difference between Nyquist, Rossi, and Johansson is this. Johansson, again now, is trying. He does not try a lot. Like, he does not care about hockey, in my opinion.
But this has been refreshing.
He shows up for games, but it's maddening because it's like, oh, wait, and this is why he gets contracts. His contract drives. But, like, Johansson makes me puke because of his lack of caring. Nyquist, I think, was a terrible pickup, and I think he's not good. He's just done. And Rossi, I think if you're going to do this to him, you might as well not play him. But I'm not mad at him.
No.
So, that's my difference of, like, I despise how Johansson approaches this sport. I despise it. I think it's disgusting when you decide you're going to show up because you're, it's playoff time. Now I'll work hard. Like, all those nights that I sit there gnashing my teeth, I'm exactly right about that.
Yeah, I think you are too. But thinking about it, like in John Hines, if I'm John Hines, they're not gonna. Honestly, they probably just run back the way it is, and maybe they change a couple gameplay things. But defense, as much as I think we would like a shuffling with Middleton down to go with Bogosian, Buium up to play with Spurgeon, you leave that top pairing as is with Brodin and Faber. I don't think they do that. They probably, similar how they value him, just his veteran presence in the lineup. They're going to value a veteran like Bogosian with Buium for the first few games, especially here in the playoffs. I mean, I would like Vinny Hinostroza in. I would like him in the lineup. But I just don't see a spot for him to go. Like the fourth line,
no, it's the Nyquist role.
It's the Nyquist role. Like that is the spot, but they're also not going to bench him, which is just such a pain in the ass.
Well, yeah, yeah, and I actually think to go back to the defensive topic, I actually think there's a better chance that they scratch Buium and play Merrill before they juggle a thing.
Yeah.
Which I don't agree with, and I would not do, but I'm just saying, like in my perfect world, you would juggle the defensive. Well, you would juggle two of them, so not the top pairing. But I think there's a better chance that John Hines would actually scratch Buium and put Merrill back with Bogosian before he put Zeev with Spurgeon.
Yeah, like I could see hypothetically they go up 3-1 in this series now. They win the next two games, and they're like, I know, trust me. And this is a lofty hypothetical. I know.
Wild.
We're playing a game of hypotheticals.
They're champing at the bit to put a dagger in your dreams, AJ.
But they win the next two. They go back to Vegas for game. What would that be now? 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're thinking, oh my God, that's a scenario I can see. We need the calming presence of a guy who's been here before. We need to have John Merrill back in the lineup to really shore up defensively while our top guys try to gut out a 1-0, 2-1 win. And that's where Buium just isn't able to, cut it up with the big boys. Speaking of cutting it up here, we got Ryan, who is been waiting here for a while. Ryan, welcome into JJ's Vet Line.
Hey, Ryan. I just thought, like to your point, Gus is cooked. That second goal doesn't happen without him trying to windmill through 3 Golden Knights defenders, and then it gets turned the other way. And then my second thing is like Aiden Hill. I think he's one of those goalies that kind of gets shooken up after the first goal.
Yeah.
Because that second goal that just was right on his glove, like that is not when you miss,
Nope. Good stuff. Agree completely.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
He definitely got shook because those 2 saves he made were outstanding, and then he gave up a goal, and it's like, and the first goal was a really nice play. So like that was not a bad goal. It's like that's too bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's what I'm curious about. Like, because goaltenders are so weird. Is he like shook now for the long term? Is he absolutely fine now? If he gives up another question, or heck, if he gives up an early goal on Thursday, like this is where I'm curious, because that is such a position where it's so mental. And if a guy gets hot, it becomes really difficult to beat him. But like right now, and I don't think I could say this for a lot of playoff series involving this godforsaken team. Right now, I would say, like, if you were to pick a goaltender from this series, it's the Gus bus, easily,
by far.
But I mean,
that's zero hesitation.
That's a nice thing. That's a nice thing to say. That's a nice thing to have. And the guy before is right. It was Gustavsson a couple of years ago in Dallas who stood on his bleeping head. I think he faced 50 shots game 1 and he won. And Dean played Fleury in game 2, and it was a complete disaster. That obviously is not going to happen with John Hines and the way that things are structured now. So I hesitate to say I feel good about things. It's a nice win tonight. It's 1-1, but I feel pretty good about what we're seeing in goal. And I feel pretty good about the fact that Gustavsson, it feels like for a prolonged period of time now, age has been really, really sharp. And Vegas, the only thing that would worry me And the Wild's playing well defensively. Like I do think that there is a structure now. When they're playing like this, there's a structure that works. The only thing that would worry me is if, and we talked about this today briefly in the afternoon, if Vegas were able to generate offense off the rush, because I do think that's where Gustavsson struggles a little bit.
Yeah.
But if as long as they come into the zone and set up, he's in pretty good shape unless there is a complete catastrophic breakdown, which we saw. I think it was on the second goal. But the only thing that would worry me is if we start to see some odd man rushes with shots, because it feels like that's when he gets a little bit leaky. But beyond that, knock on wood, I'm feeling pretty good about what we're seeing in goal, I should say, from the Wild.
And I'd say it's maybe not as much him as it is to the guys in front of him on the like up ice rushes, because it seems like they have a decent structure now in the playoffs, but like the goals that we've seen, it's a Bogosian biting too early and like letting them go to the open man who now has a wide, Gus can't make the adjustment. Or on the other side of things, a broken play, you're already reeling, and then guys don't step up to close the gap between themselves and the shooter, and then they can now change the angle just a little bit in order to, I guess, like bamboozle him in a sense, because now the puck, you have guys in front just standing there, they lose eyesight of him. But yeah, when it comes to like setting it up and just the overall goaltending choice, I think you're spot on there. It is easily, like in my mind, zero hesitation, I'm taking Filip Gustavsson.
Yeah.
He is on paper, what we've seen, he's passing the eye test. He has been fantastic. Night 1, night 2. He continues, and if this sort of play continues, that puts the Wild in honestly a pretty good position to at least put this to 6 or 7 games in the series. Maybe not win it, but in a position to win more games than just the one here tonight.
Absolutely. Okay, we are done because I've got to. In fact, I think we both do have to.
Believe it or not, we got to work tomorrow.
A couple of hours of sleep, today. And then we got a Purple Daily Write That Down session that starts at 9, I believe. So we're done, but back tomorrow with a Judd's Hockey Show that will also include our friend Jesse Pierce. So we'll talk about the first 2 games, where things are headed. Probably have some clearer thoughts by that point, although I did not drink tonight. No beer at all, but probably some clearer thoughts as well. So Judd's Hockey Show, plenty more to come this week. We will talk to you later. Thanks for joining. Thanks for staying up with us.